it up, but like it's been a lot of growth for me personally from the person I stepped as an 18-year-old kid stepping onto campus. Like there's a lot about baseball that I thought I knew
Right.
or that I thought I had figured out. Never really saw any true failure or
Yeah.
at least longevity within that failure. You know, it was always like maybe a bad game here or there. But when you get to college and you get tested, man, it's a tough game. There's biggest jump in talent gap probably from high school to
Yeah.
college. And of course, I'm coming to LSU, so there's no place
Right.
else like this. Toughest fans, toughest atmosphere, but also the best. And you know, my freshman year, I probably got a lot more caught up in the ebbs and flows of the game. You know, I would really ride the wave, and when things were going really good for me, I was the happiest kid alive. You know, best teammate. It was really easy for me to be that. And then when things were going bad, I was probably pissed off, throwing stuff, and you know, making every excuse. The umpire, you know, effed me or this or that. So Coach Johnson pulled me into his office one day. I think it was my sophomore year fall, and he was like, "Dude, you know, I told you you're my starting first baseman, but like, I don't know."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So you know, and I'm not saying that you know I didn't work for that position, but I'm just saying like
Yep.
for the first time in my career, I was like, man, maybe I'm not what I think I am.
Right.
And so worked that fall all the time. Yeah, I had a rough Cape summer my freshman
It's
year,
hard.
and it's tough up there
Yeah.
too. So like going into that fall my sophomore year, I was like, man, I really got to go here, and I didn't. Then things started to click over that winter break, going into my sophomore year. Had a really good preseason going into my sophomore year. Played every game last year, and I think the best way to get better at baseball is just playing baseball.
Right.
Get more reps, and I saw you know another 30 games in the SEC plus another 15 in the postseason, whether that be the tournament or the regional. So more at bats I got, the more comfortable I got, and then you know mentally going through the ebbs and flows, you just whether that's coaches kind of just brainwashing it into
Yeah.
you of like, man, you just can't go down that path. You
Right.
really can't do that. And then I have such a great support system around me outside of the field, family, friends, my
Yeah.
girlfriend. So like everybody around me supports me in what I do. So it's really easy for me to, whether I have a good game or bad game, go off the field and still enjoy my life and what I do here. So
Right.
baseball for me is kind of like a job. You know, I show up good or bad day at the office. I still you know have another life outside of this. And now this year, you know, I have a different perspective. You know, I've got 14 games left
Yeah.
of baseball, and only 4 or 5 of them are at the box. You know,
Yeah.
and then postseason baseball is what it is. Anything can happen in
Right.
postseason baseball. So I'm very grateful for the time that I've been here, and you know,